Engine is going back in this.
I've owned this car for nearly 10 years, and for those that don't know, I restored it on my mum's driveway in this tiny little shed with no previous experience. In fact, it's the first car that I've ever built. For a long time it's been sitting without an engine, and that's because of things that were completely out of my control. But today we're bringing it back to life so I can enjoy it again. However, there's one little job that I need to do first.
Ball joints, pathetic. So before the engine can go back in the car, we need to give it a lick of paint because the colour's faded, it looks a bit tatty, and I want to get everything nice and jazzy for when we get it out on the road. And then when I get stopped and someone says, can I have a look at your car, and I pop the engine bay, I can say, you can eat your dinner off it. The only other thing I need to do is the sticker that I've removed here has pulled the paint off. So this will go back on whilst we get the engine in, but then off camera I'm going to repaint that and put it back on top of the engine. We'll then get the engine back in this car, and then we'll hopefully try to get everything piped up, connected up, wired up, all that sort of stuff, and then look to give it a first start. But before all that can happen, there's another job I need to do at the back of the car, which involves removing the fuel pump and relocating it to a better position, because there's another mod I have up my sleeve courtesy of Optimize Automotive. And if you are looking for an interior trim on your Mini, just check the link below. You can get up to 10% off if you use my code. Absolutely nothing in it for me, it just lets Andy know that I sent you and you watch my videos.
The colour I've chosen for the engine was of course BMC green or Mohawk green. They're very similar, and it's heat resistant. You can buy it on eBay in spray format or tin. I chose a tin because I didn't want to spend ages masking everything up, and the results still look good doing it this way.
Quick POV shot. I can't paint this here because these are like heat plugs, so if the engine overheats, these are designed to pop out. If you paint them, that stops that operating correctly. So those little silver discs won't get painted. They look a bit rusty, but once this paint's gone off, I can get a wire brush in there on the end, or a drill brush if I take the dipstick out and clean them up afterwards. The problem with this is it's very, very intricate, and the easiest way to do it would probably be to mask all the engine up and spray it, but then that means I've got to take everything basically off the engine, the alternator, things like that, just to get the paint behind it. So this is a little bit more time consuming, but I still want the car to have that wow factor when you lift the engine bay. And if it means I've got to take best part of a couple of hours doing this, or maybe an hour, I don't know yet, I've been going about 30 minutes just to get the engine looking nice and jazzy, I'm gonna do it. Because if you've ever been to a mini show, the critiques that go round, they pick holes in things like this to see whether it's been painted and presented well, and I'm not really chasing trophies like that. I just want this car to be what it was when we first restored it. It was something I was extremely proud of, and I want it to be like that going forward.
Now you might be wondering if the brush lines will be visible. They aren't, and that's because it's enamel paint and it self-levels as it dries, but you do need to be careful of runs as the paint is quite thin.
So there we go, all painted, Mini covered up. Gonna let this dry overnight, and then hopefully the weather will hold off and we'll get the engine back in this car tomorrow.
To put the engine back in, I called in the slaphead. Sorry, I mean my dad.
This is the first time I've seen this in the flesh and out in the sun for about 2 years. So I'm keen to have a look at what's actually changed. There's a few things that have got a bit corroded, like where the brake fluid goes. That's always a common thing, so I'll probably change that after the engine's back in. But when we took the engine out last time, there was a massive problem with the ball joint on the driver's side. Couldn't split it, didn't have the tools. So today I've come loaded with a blowtorch, some new ball joint splitters, and we're gonna use a bit of brute force and ignorance to get that off, which will allow us to then pull the drive shafts apart, drop the engine in, and push the drive shafts onto the diff in the car. So we'll start by doing that.
First, I jacked up the car and loosened the wheel nuts. Then I asked my dad if he knew what he was doing.
Putting the nuts back on without a wheel don't make sense.
You messing with nuts?
Yeah.
Do you like messing with nuts? Do you like this is the ball joint. It's the top joint that I couldn't get off last time, so undoing the nut wasn't a problem. It's actually splitting it. This should hopefully solve the problem. And I got these off Amazon, weren't expensive, I think they're about 20 quid for all them. I'll leave a link below if you do want to buy them. Absolutely nothing in it for me. Get your standard one, that's that size, one that's like a U-shape, a bigger U-shaped one, a massive like V-shaped one, and then just your standard cheapo ball joint splitter. So if we can't get this ball joint off with these tools, I'm just retiring and giving up. And then to add to the brute force and ignorance, I'm gonna be using this. There we go.
And that's how easy it should free, but for some reason the top joint was putting up a hell of a fight, so I tried every single splitter I had in the pack.
I'm a bit defeated with this. I've been doing this for about an hour and 10 minutes now. Every ball joint splitter on it, it just will not come off. As you can see here, the top ball joint, it looks like it's split, it isn't. I've had excess heat on here, been swinging on it, smacking on it, and it will not split. And I need that to split so I can pull that drive shaft out to get the engine in.
Then I tried it again after heating it up for 20 minutes.
I managed to get the engine out with this ball joint not freeing, but it's going to be a nightmare to get it back in because you've got to push the drive shafts onto the diff.
So with that, I proceeded to put the engine back in, but it meant I'd have to push the engine onto the drive shaft instead of pushing the drive shaft onto the engine. And if you've ever worked on minis, you'll know that there's not a lot of room to do this.
I've got to put the speedo cable on. If they didn't put that on, that would have been game over. Towards you a little bit if you can. Drive shaft down here. I need to get this other drive shaft on. This drive shaft is the one we've managed to split off the ball joint. So we're going to leave this one here, and we're going to, where Mr. Mark is up there, just bring you around the back. We're going to get that one on down there. So we'll push the engine onto that, and then we're going to get this one on that you can see on there. We've got one drive shaft on. We're going to put the other drive shaft on, and a little tip is once the drive shafts are on, don't take the engine off the crane, because the bolts for the bottom engine mounts are an absolute nightmare to get in. And if you're going to order new ones, don't get the ones with captive nuts either. They're even more difficult because they've got like a stud, and when you put the nut in, it just spins. So we're going to get that drive shaft in, keep the engine on the crane, which allows us to move it about, and then we'll get both the bolts through, get it bolted in, and then I think it's probably going to be another day to get everything connected up. There's a few things I want to paint and get sorted, and then hopefully this thing will be back on the road. So this is the problem with these engine mounts. You can tell Austin or Norris or Mini or Alec Zagonis never thought about it years ago because they're in the most awkward space. You basically need to be a contortionist. I've got a spanner that I'm routing down the back to rest it on the nut, and you can't get it in because the bell housing's in the way. And then you can just about reach, if you've got long arms, over the wing to tighten them up. That's not a stupid design. I don't know what is. There we go. Bottom engine mounts in. What a faff. Right, so there we go. That's the hardest bit done. Engine is in. It's going to get rid of these engine crane mounts now and put the ARP bolts or nuts back on. And I will re-torque these up. I'm just not going to do it now because I've left my torque wrench up at the barn. Big job this, to be honest, because we've got now washer fluid bottles got to go back in, air vents have got to go back in, radiators got to go on, exhaust manifolds got to go on down there. We've got to do the rack and pinion for the gearbox, which we'll do in a second. Then we've got to get the carbs on, which are an absolute nightmare to get on because they're off an MGB and they're massive. And they're really awkward, and I thought that was me being a contortionist, but you're going to need that even more to get them on. Fans got to go back on, and we've got to get the bottom hose back on the radiator, connect all the wiring loom up, and then put obviously fluids in, oil, everything else. The only thing we're going to struggle with though is last time we tried to get the oil into the engine, we've got to get the oil to the top so it doesn't starve when we turn it over, and we were struggling to get the starter motor to crank it enough to get the oil to the top of the engine, and that's because we had a weak starter motor on it last time. Now we've got a power starter motor on it, and it was about 300 quid, so it was quite expensive, but obviously because it's a high torque engine, high compression, we do need that. What we'll do is a little trick that a friend told me was if we undo the union for the oil filter at the back, we can put some oil down that union and we can put the car into gear and push it backwards, and that'll make the engine crank and it'll suck the oil down from the top of the engine into the bottom. So I'll probably end up doing that. And then there's a few bits I've got to paint up here and sort. So what we'll do, we'll get the rack and pinion on at the bottom for the engine. We'll get the bottom engine stabilizer on and the top engine stabilizer. They offer another engine steady that comes from the subframe mount at the front here. It comes over the top and connects onto your thermostat housing, and it basically just takes that little bit of a rock out of the engine when you put your foot down, obviously giving more torque, more power, and it makes your bones rattle a bit more. But I think it's definitely needed because we've doubled the horsepower in this car. I think it's about 90 horsepower. It's not been on the rolling road. The person that built the engine thinks it's about 100 horsepower, but we will see. So plan is get all this sorted, get it all put together, and then we'll be in a position to take it to a rolling road and get everything set up. But for now, let's get underneath the car and be a contortionist again. Oh, it's got a nylock nut on that, Mark, so I think we need 13 battery cables in the way. Right, that, if you come round here, Marcus, you don't have much room with these, that's the only problem. You need to be, there we go. That should come through now. Shoulder bolt, yes it has. Washer on this side. Tighten the nylock nut up whilst forcing it over a bit. Yeah, and there we go. Bottom engine steady, nipped up. Now we're going to work up to the back and get this gear selector on that's just fell down off the piece of string. Nice. My Austrian friend, if you've not seen his channel, head over to it. Dave Jaguar 66, very nice man. Originally born in Oldham, not too far from where I live. Resided in Austria, Jag E-types, Jag XJs, classic minis. His garage, I could practically live in. You could eat your dinner off the floor as well. Been lucky enough to go over. Do you know what I mean? Jelly bean. In a very awkward position, but if I bring you in, hopefully this makes sense. Put the camera there. So, I'm hoping you can see that. Drive shaft, pushed in all the way home. Next to get this horrible spline pin on for the gearbox. If you know, you know, absolute pain in the penis to put them in. And then start connecting everything up. So if I can do that with my fingers. No, I can't because I put it back to the socket set like a douche. Stabilizer with the pinch bolt goes on last, if you can see me. This needs to get a bit of a push back. Get in, you bastard. There we go, we're in. Right, now this is the awkward bit. This tiny pin, we've got to try and get in there. And it is always a swine. Oh, right, there we go. Gear selector is connected, all the engine mounts are on, drive shafts are in. Time to put this back on the wheels, and then I'm going to tackle doing everything else on another day because hands are black, it's getting late, and my Sunday dinner's on the table. The more I mess with this car, the more it stresses me out. But then I just know that when I get it out on the road, and I'm doing a bit of B-road bashing on a nice day, I'm going to absolutely love it again. And that's the thing with minis. I feel like you can fall out of love with them really easily. But there's something about this one. I think it's because I've chosen everything on it and done everything to it.
It's also the car that completely changed my trajectory in life. It's taken me from working in the construction industry to having my dream job as a content creator. Without this car, you guys wouldn't have bought into me and my journey, and I thank each and every one of you for that, because without you, this wouldn't be possible. However, a couple of months ago, I nearly sold it.
Something said, don't get rid. This is what started the channel, and this is what has now allowed me to do videos like this to become my day job. So to get rid of the car that started it all doesn't seem right to me. Also, do us a favour, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and also like the video, because I'm trying to get to 25,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Just a goal of mine, but yeah. Right, let's get this off the jack. So there we go, day one, putting the engine back in, and I'm going to call it there. That has been a task and a half. I've not touched this car probably about 2 to 3 years. So in the next episode, we'll come back, we'll get the rest of the things on the engine, and hopefully we'll be able to get it started up and see if this engine runs, so we can get down to the rolling road testers and get it all sorted. If you enjoyed this, give us a like, give us a subscribe and a follow, and I'll see you all very soon. Make sure you do everything in style.